I used to live here in the same neighborhood almost 25 years ago in the late 90s, where the whole neighborhood looked entirely different. Mostly abandoned buildings, crumbling walls, pretty much no tourists at all, cheap property prices, dodgy neighborhood, and now this is one of the most gentrified neighborhoods, as we call. And on one hand, I can understand this whole gentrification is good for the economy, good for the businesses, but on one hand also some of the locals are not really happy with this because we have crazy housing prices recently. But definitely the neighborhood changed dramatically in the last 12 years, I would say. So usually I do like street art tours or like art-related tours, history tours. This gives you a pretty good insight how like Budapest actually works nowadays. So on one hand, the neighborhood is famous for the nice street art and also nightlife and like fancy hotels and trendy restaurants, designer shops, but it's also famous for something else, for the history. And you can see this line on the pavement. The neighborhood was the Jewish ghetto, and this was one of the border of the Jewish ghetto during the Second World War. You might know this picture, famous Dutch Flemish artist called Jan van Eyck. This is a pretty well-known picture, but as you can see, something is not correct, something has been replaced. And these are cartoon characters from the communism from the 70s and 80s. This country was under communism for 40 years, and in the 80s we had such a rich culture of making all the cartoons. Let me show you one of my favorite murals in the city, definitely one of the best one. The artist is from Spain. His signature can be found over there on the right-hand corner, called Oco d'Art. This piece of art has been sponsored by the Spanish embassy. This is the man called Angel Sanz Brins, and he was a Spanish diplomat who worked here during the Second World War, and he was able to save 5,000 Hungarian Jewish people. This courtyard connects two streets, almost 200 meters long, and it's full with bars, restaurants, nightlife happens here, especially on the weekends. 20 years ago, the whole neighborhood, including this courtyard, looked totally different. The whole courtyard has been just empty. No bars, no restaurants, zero tourists. I remember the neighborhood from the past. You see the beautiful mural behind me, and this was commissioned by the United Nations Refugee Agency, and this is dedicated to the refugees in general. And the original source of, let's say, inspiration for this artwork was also a famous picture from the past, from the 80s, called The Girl of Afghanistan. I'm pretty sure many people have seen this photo, and the artists used her as a source of inspiration. Watch the courtyard. That's the name of the courtyard.
I like that.
Yeah, it's true, but no one lives here. It's all Airbnbs and apartments. It has been.
Nobody lives here.
I mean, it's happened in the last 20 years, and this became pretty expensive. And most of these flats are for the short-term rents rather for the tourists.
I see.
And it's a pretty noisy neighborhood on the weekend nights. So the neighborhood is not only famous for good art and street art and murals, but also for nightlife. And in summertime, the whole neighborhood is full with really nice beer gardens. So over there's a nice beer garden also visited by the locals. The famous national dish of this country is goulash soup.
Yeah.
And that's the animal. It's called grey cattle, so that's the most typical animal that we are preparing the goulash soup, the grey cattle.
I see. This is like the most important ingredient.
Yeah, exactly, of the goulash soup.
What do you call it in Hungarian?
Goulash. Gulyás.
Yeah, but the animal.
Szürke marha. Grey cattle. This is the most famous bar, not only of the neighborhood, but rather the whole city. It's called Simplakert in Hungarian. And that's the most famous ruin bar here, and that's the nightlife style we have here, especially in the neighborhood. The building, it's pretty old. This has been here for 150 years. It has been abandoned for decades, and 22 years ago it has been renovated, let's say, but an interesting concept. So they kept the old facades, the ruined style of the building, but it has been decorated with really cool art installation. Neighborhood, 10% of the flats are not lived by the locals, but it's an Airbnb, and you can see the locals everywhere. And this caused also conflict between the locals and the tourists, I have to say. This is one of my favorite square and neighborhood in the downtown. Although we are not really far from the main touristy side of the city, somehow this neighborhood is less touristic. Maybe tourists they haven't discovered, although they should.
It's nice and quiet.
Exactly now, but in summertime, if the weather is better, it's live, it's full with people. Also, when I hang out with my friends, going for a beer, a coffee, and so on, so we meet here.
Yeah.
And the neighborhood is called the Palace District. It doesn't have any connection with the palaces in the Buda Castle.
Yeah.
It means something else. So most of the huge mansions was built 100 years ago.
But
Okay.
Buda is on the other side.
That's other side, that
Okay,
way.
we're in Pest now.
Yeah, exactly, in the Pest side.
Yeah.
And the reason I like it, one hand, because it's less tourists, it's more quiet, but it's full with really nice, smaller, like designer shops, art galleries. That's really authentic Budapest vibe, the old 100 years old building with smaller coffee shops. And you can feel the history as you walk around the neighborhood.
Here's a question.
Okay.
What's the green and yellow flag?
That's the district's flag. The Józsefváros, that's the name of the district. So each district has its own like number, like this is District 8. And the name of the district is Józsefváros, named after the Habsburg ruler Joseph. And it's called József City, let's say, and that's the flag. So Budapest had such a vibrant cafe culture, especially in the turn of the 19th and 20th century. And still the city offers classical cafe houses, but also new wave coffee shops. If I'd pick one, I'd pick this building, and I don't have to explain you why. Just look around the interior.
Yeah.
Also, 100 years old building. Amazing, no?
Yeah, yeah.